Semi-sunny, semi-cloudy Alaska, depending on which part of the state you are in right now. We are currently here at the MatSu Assembly meeting that is happening here Tuesday night at the MatSu office and chambers here. And tonight this is a continuation of something that began a little over 2 weeks ago with the MatSu Public Library's Book Review Committee and the Karens that are on them. Please take a time to read the description that is there, and so you can get a better detail of what is going on with this event. If you did not see what happened that day when the Public Library Committee had met and discussing two different books, please go back and watch what mainstream media like Alaska Daily News, they are out there right now. They're pushing the propaganda of the spin that they wanted to put on what happened on that event. Reality is that the Public Library's Review Committee doesn't want any public input on these books. It is what they say goes, and that is all that matters. You can see all the different defenses. I lined them up, several of them there. That is not all of them that they use, but that is a majority of what they use. If you want to hear everything that happened on that day, again, click the link. I provided it to the actual video of that day, and it's well worth watching. The second video to go to, if that one caught your interest, would be the Wasilla City Chamber Community Council when they met about a week later. And what had occurred is at the end of my video, I was giving a shout out to businesses out there that have shown their support or made donations towards what we do here. Just I really do love their businesses, and I want to promote them. And this is nothing that I'm paid to do. This is something that most podcasters, broadcasters, news broadcasters, depending on how you look at it, this is how we make sure that the businesses out there, we support them just like they support us, and giving them a shout out. And they never have nothing to do with affiliated directly with what is being streamed, and many of us do that. Well, this particular Karen that sit on the Public Library Review Committee decided to go and target this business, and that is why we're here tonight too. Same reason why we were at the Wasilla City Council meeting here a week ago, because that is the community that it happened directly in. But the MatSu Assembly here is the one who has control over this review committee. A lot of turmoil is going on with it. They were supposed to have another meeting on the 13th in Talkeetna, the Public Library Review Committee that is, and they canceled it. This is not the first time they've canceled it. They don't want the public to come in and have their 2 cents, and they're keeping it controlled and manipulated. And now the borough has done more and stepped in and says we're taking a further review on it, and we're now starting a new section called 16 to 18-year-olds, or for those in our public library systems, for being able to see books that have not, and the ones that are being challenged so far, from what I've seen of them, they have absolutely no business being on our public shelves. But because these people that are in the review committee can self-identify directly with what is written in those books, glorifying pedophilia and porn and self-mutilation and binging and incest, and you name it. It's just absolutely sickening. One of the two books that was in the review here the other day.
I'm early. I think I'll go have some coffee.
You can see one of the members of here on the assembly that just walked in behind me there. She was there at that review committee here at the assembly that day as an audience member, and was one of the vocal people that spoke out. The Alaska Dispatch News, Daily News, they outright spun their propaganda on all of us out there. The meeting here is about ready to begin. It starts at 6 o'clock, so it should be any second now. Thank you guys all for being here today. Like and share this. You can find this on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and you can always find us live on our website at Politadick.com, and click that live button. It is a portable player, so you can watch it anywhere, do surfing on other sites, and still be able to watch this as you go. Again, thank you guys all for being here. Like and share, and while you're at our website, don't hesitate. Click that support button. It's your support, it's your donations that help make this happen. Keeps the services up and running so that we can be streaming to all these different accounts at once, and keeping you up to date on what mainstream media doesn't want you to see, uncut and unfiltered.
Call this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. This is a regular meeting for Tuesday, February 6, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
I will. I do not expect Tim Hale to call in, Madam Mayor. Stephanie Nowers, are you on the phone?
I'm here.
Dee McKee.
Yep.
Rob Yent, are you on the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Bill Gamble.
Here.
Dimitri Bonoff.
We're here.
Ron Bernier.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there anything that any of the members would like to pull from consent agenda or any changes to the agenda? Was that all wait for me?
No.
It wasn't, okay. All right, so hearing none, then the agenda is approved as presented. You'll all rise, please, and John, if I could have you lead us in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is minutes from preceding meetings. There was a regular assembly meeting on the 19th of December of 2023. A regular assembly meeting minutes on January 2nd, 2024. And a regular assembly meeting minutes on January 16th, 2024. Are there any changes to the minutes as they were presented? Okay, seeing and hearing none, and the minutes are approved as presented. The next item is reports and correspondent agencies. I don't think I see anybody from any of the 3 cities. Okay, report from school.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Brown, members of the Assembly. For the record, Katie Gardner, Deputy Superintendent for the MatSu Borough School District. Just a brief update tonight, a few upcoming events and a couple of reminders. The school board does have a regular school board meeting tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at the MatSu Central Administration Building. We also have live right now our school district budget survey as part of our annual budget development process. You can find it easily on the school district's website, so any members of the assembly or community that are interested in providing feedback, please encourage them to use that as our primary mechanism. The survey will be available through Friday, February 16th. We also have another elected officials school tour that's coming up, and that will be on February 20th. Thank you to Member McKee for attending our last one. It's always nice to have an opportunity for people to visit schools. You will receive appointments and information by the end of this week about when those tours are going to be. And if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Also, just a reminder that parent-teacher conferences will be happening February 19th, so it will not be a day for school for students, but encourage all parents who are interested in learning more about our programs, how their students are doing, to please contact your school and make an appointment to come in for those parent-teacher conferences. And then lastly, this is CTE month, and so we are celebrating all things CTE in the school district in recognition of that. MatSu is a school district that has a great partnership with Career Technical Education, and we are proud of the over 7,000 courses that students are participating in that are in the area of CTE. That's a number that has been growing over the last few years, and we hope that it continues to grow. So thank you for your support. Thank you again for attending the meeting yesterday for the joint subcommittee and the opportunity to provide an update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment on
Yes.
please? I just gotta tell you folks, if you haven't been to the schools, if you haven't been on this tour, you gotta go. It is absolutely amazing. You just watch the stuff in action and the kids doing what they do. I was absolutely, and as a 26-year teacher, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have started over one of those other places. Palmerton Middle is a great school, but I'm telling you, what I saw was outstanding. So, go.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Todd, we have a report from the state of Alaska, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Todd Smolden with the Governor's Office. I wanted to just give you a brief update. Last week was the Governor's State of the State speech, and contrary to a political blogger, whether or not the governor eats Subway was not the main purpose of the speech. But I can report that he does indeed eat Subway, and usually he's a double meat, double cheese kind of guy. So just keep that in mind. But no, the main points of the State of the State speech I think were really important. One being public safety, and just to let everybody know again that budget-wise, as far as the troopers go, we are at historic levels of positions for troopers, and there are unfilled positions, however, so if anybody out there knows of a good candidate who wants to be a state trooper, we are looking for good state troopers candidates. Also, the VPSO program is something that the governor is proposing, adding some positions to that. Also, I think everybody knows education funding is a real hot topic right now, and perhaps you've been following that. I wanted to say that I really appreciated being at the joint meeting yesterday with the school board and the borough assembly. Those meetings are fantastic. It is great to see both bodies really working together and to be able to have dialogue together, open, honest, trying to figure out how best to be fiscally responsible and serve this community. So it's great to participate in those. When it comes to funding, the governor knows that there's a loud cry for BSA increases. But that's, and I can say this as a former teacher as well, that BSA funding, while it's important to the administration and for the day-to-day operations of the school, it doesn't necessarily get directly into the classroom. So the governor has stated very publicly that unless there are some funding sources that support the READS Act, that benefit teachers in terms of recruitment and retention, and those kinds of things, that just BSA funding is not going to work for him. So hopefully the legislature will continue to work on a package that they can put together that the governor can sign and support. And then the last thing to highlight is just that the governor really wants to work on making Alaska more affordable, especially for young families and people with children. And he'll be doing that through legislation that's related to energy, food, and housing. So currently there's about, I think the governor has maybe 32 or 3 pieces of legislation that have been filed. So there's a lot going on, and I can't remember all of it, nor would you want me to tell you all of it. But if you're curious at all about anything, please reach out to me, and I'm happy to help you and get you information.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, as always, sir. Oh, okay. Go ahead, sir.
As far as affordable housing stuff, you guys ever thought of bringing back the Homestead Act?
The governor, through the mayor, to Assembly Member Bernier, the governor does have a couple of pieces of legislation that are related to lands and making lands more available to Alaskans. The Homestead Act or resurrecting that is not one of those. However, he is looking at ways through statute and regulation that currently exist to get state land into private and also borough and municipal hands. So yes, that's something that's being worked on.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you for always coming, sir. Appreciate your updates.
Thanks.
Okay, the next item, I understand there was a joint assembly and school board committee. Who wants to report on that? Stephanie, Rob on the phone, Dee?
I can give it a brief.
He's probably
Okay, go ahead. On the phone, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a great meeting. There was, I believe, 3 of us assembly members there and a couple members of the school board. There was a lot of talk on all of the trades-based classes that the borough, that the district, I should say, has added. There's about twice as many classes this year for trades-based type training for the kids in our district than there was, say, about 4 years ago. And we far exceeded where we were pre-COVID, so that's exciting stuff. The kids seem to be really enjoying those type of classes, and we're working on some things. Remember, Foley Larson and I are working on some things right now to help really expand that program too. And then I'd say the bulk of the meeting was focused on the potential for expanding our charter schools, discussing a strategy, and possibly moving forward later this year. For those that don't know, the charter schools in Alaska were, I believe, tied for the top charter schools in the United States last year, and they're the shining star of education, it seems like. And a lot of people that don't even know that charter schools are public schools, so it's a lottery program to get in. Anybody in the MatSu borough can apply for their students to get into those, and they've all got waiting lists of, some of them a couple hundred kids. So I think the need is there to expand them, and that was seemed to be a big part of my conversation yesterday, how we could do that and how we could help expand school choice for parents and families in the MatSu borough. So I imagine we'll be discussing this topic in much greater detail as the next few months go by. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblyperson McKee, do you have anything to add? No. Okay. Are there any public relations reports? Seeing that. Okay. Mr. Brown, do you have a report, sir?
I do, Madam Mayor. I'm going to invite Cheyenne Heindel up front. She's going to bring with her an auditor. I'll want to mention also as well that our finance department, the borough, received an award for outstanding achievement in the popular annual financial reporting. So the PAFR, as we call it, really is more of a user-friendly, scaled-back budget document. So it talks about our finances and what we do, but it's done in a much more easy-to-read format for citizens than maybe some of our other budget documents, which have the appropriate detail but can be a little bit more difficult to digest. So I congratulate Cheyenne and her team for receiving that award again. Remarkable, and appreciate all the effort they do to continue to provide different ways for residents, citizens to participate in the financial process, whether that be budgeting or just understanding how we allocate taxpayer dollars. So I appreciate that. With that said, I'll turn it over to Cheyenne.
Thank you. This year we actually got our budget done on time, and we are bringing back the auditor's presentation of our audit. So with that, I would like to introduce to you Steve Wadley, the partner from Altman & Rogers, who is in charge of our audit this year.
Good evening, everyone, honorable mayor and members of the assembly. It's my pleasure to be able to present the results of your 2023 audit. You guys should have gotten a packet that kind of goes through the summary of what I'm going to go through. And we're going to start by looking at the independent auditor's report. This is our report over the financial statements. Your opinion says, basically, in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of governmental activities, the business type activities, the discretely presented component unit, and each major fund and the aggregate remaining fund information of MSP as of June 30th, 2023, in accordance with GAAP. So this is a clean opinion, unmodified opinion. As part of our audit procedures, we ask management to supply supporting documentation to support the balances that are in the financial statements. We performed procedures over the support to make sure the financial statements were materially correct. And part of our testing, we looked at your internal control system to kind of try to reduce some of our substantive procedures and place reliance on the internal control. So we were specifically testing whether the staff were following the policies and procedures as set forth by the Assembly. So we pulled samples of your accounts payable transactions, cash receipts, and payroll transactions. We reviewed material journal entries and material checks, and we looked at all checks greater than or equal to, for your general fund, 2.5 million. For your port, which is a little bit small, it was $10,000. For the solid waste was 110,000, and then all other funds we looked at any check that was greater than $100,000. Finally, as part of our audit procedures, we looked at comparing prior year to current year. Specifically, by doing that, we're looking for material misstatements in the financial statements, things that have been overlooked as part of the audit procedure. You kind of do those at the end to make sure that there's no material misstatements. Another part of that analytical procedure is looking at your budget compared to actual to make sure that there's not significant variances. Our testing of internal controls is actually on page 2. It's the result of our testing of internal controls. And it says, our consideration of internal control was for limited purposes described in the first paragraph of this section and was not designed to identify all deficiencies in internal controls that might be significant or material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. Given these limitations during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal controls that we considered to be material weaknesses. However, material weaknesses or significant deficiencies may exist that were not identified. That's negatively phrased because we only pulled a sample of your transactions. We did not look at the entire population. So based on our sample, we found no findings. So I'm happy to report that management did an excellent job at following all the rules and regulations. And I'm happy to report no findings or issues related to the audit. The next two opinions, I'm going to kind of combine them. They're almost identical. It's the federal compliance and the state single audit, they're almost identical wording on these. But one of the responsibility of management when it comes to compliance auditing is to make sure that they're following all the rules and regulations of the grants. For our purposes, we looked at 4 federal programs, and then we had to look at a lot of state programs. We looked at a total of 7 state programs. So when we test, internal controls related to federal and state compliance, we pull an additional sample directly related to each of those 4 federal programs and 7 state programs. So we can't use the same sample that we used over financial reporting. We have to pull a specific sample related to those individual programs. So we pulled a sample of accounts payable transactions and payroll transactions. We also looked at a lot of the reporting requirements of the grants and some other special tests. And I'm happy to report that you guys have a clean, unmodified opinion on the federal as well as state compliance. So we found that management was following all the rules and regulations, and I'm happy to disclose no findings or issues noted during our So it was a clean audit, well prepared, management was well prepared for the audit. The last thing I was just going to kind of hit on is in the back, and it's the letter to the governing board. Looks like this. This is outlines our required communication with the assembly. So I would suggest that you read it and kind of go through it, but it outlines, you know, in every audit, there's not an exact number. Sometimes there's estimates made in a financial statement audit. And so we go through and we identified the significant accounting estimates that management's made. We evaluated them as far as the audit goes and to make sure that they were reasonable in relationship to the financial statements as a whole. Some of the other, if we had difficulties, which we had a clean audit, you know, everything was well prepared, but if we had difficulties encountered in performing the audit, we would be required to disclose those to you. And I'm happy to report there was no issue whatsoever. And then it goes on to list corrected and uncorrected misstatements, and if we had any disagreements with management, we would be required to bring them to your guys' attention. And I'm happy to report there were no issues related to that. I think the staff did a wonderful job at preparing for the audit. You know, we weren't waiting for stuff when we arrived. So this was a total of a 3-week audit. The first week we did test work and compliance, and the last 2 weeks we did final audit field work. And staff were really ready, well prepared. Everything worked, everything was reconciled. So hats off to the accounting staff. But I'll open it up to questions related to the audit.
Any of the assembly members have questions? Yes. Go ahead.
How often this audit is being done for our assembly?
It's once a year.
Correct. And have you participated in previous ones or no?
No, this is our first one.
Okay, so this is the first time, and you
Yeah.
enjoyed working with our staff and everything?
Oh, yeah, it was a pleasure.
Okay. And what is the cost of this audit? Do we have it, because I didn't see anything on here.
$175.
Okay. And it took you guys about 3 weeks to do that?
Yeah, a little bit
combined.
there. And then management prepares the financial statements, so there's a little bit of review time after that. Yeah, to go through the financial statements.
That also includes any questions we ask throughout the year to the auditors on how we maybe book a transaction or make sure that we're doing it in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles. If something has changed in those requirements, we go to them for the expertise.
So we can be pretty proud of the results. Is that for size of or on a national level, do a lot of people get this perfect audit like this? Or
No.
It's more of a
Yeah, you know, in Alaska, you probably, I hate to say it, but you know, you get off the road system, and they're probably some of the most unqualified people running the books. And so there's a lot of findings, a lot of issues, a lot of delays in issuing the report. But these guys did a wonderful job at preparing for the audit.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate it, and hopefully next time if we use you, you get a better price from you. And that's all I have.
Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
On page 3 of 4, when it's talking about corrected and uncorrected misstatements, and then it says the following misstatement is detected as a result of audit procedures that was not corrected by management. And it seems like a lot of money to me, but maybe it isn't in the great scheme of things. $862,261 understatement of cash and investment. What does that mean?
Well, that was just mainly timing difference in relationship to when the expenses went out or when the revenue came in. I mean, if we looked at it right now, cash works 100%.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Huh?
Any question? Anybody online have a question, and let the record show that Assemblyperson Hale joined us at 6:13. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so I do want to thank Alvin and Rogers as well. It's really helpful when your auditors are also timely. So when our staff is preparing financial statements and we require review and whatnot, it's also important that they hit their marks. And they did that very well, which is helpful to us to make sure we stay on our timelines to do the reports that we need to do and publish the documents that we need to publish. So I appreciate that as well. It is a bit of a partnership. It is a third-party audit. As was relayed to the Assembly, there are requirements for disclosure. So it doesn't mean we always agree necessarily. In this case, I think it went really well. But it's an important process for financial transparency. So I appreciate their work in hitting their marks as well. I'm going to shift gears and invite Tom Adams, our Public Works Director, up. So I just asked him to do a quick update for the Assembly. We talked a little bit earlier about some of the road maintenance contracts that are going out to bid. We are on the cusp of putting 7 of those out on the street here very shortly, and they are somewhat significantly different than contracts that we've done in the past. So I asked Tom to hit some of those highlights for the Assembly, just so you're aware of some of those, and then if you have follow-on questions or want additional detail, you have an opportunity to do that before they hit the street, and constituents, road boards, contractors might start asking you questions. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Adams.
Madam Mayor, Manager Brown, members of the Assembly, again, Tom Adams, Public Works Director. As the manager stated, Public Works just recently delivered to purchasing the documents that they will now prepare to put forward the bid documents for 7 different RSAs, road service area, and a road maintenance contract. So obviously, it's been kind of a highlight of this season, and we're pretty proud of the document we put together. It is fairly significant in its construction with respect to the historical documents that have been used in the past to procure these types of services. But in essence, if you really looked at it and familiar with it, it's while the structure's much different, the achievement is not necessarily different than what we've done in the past. For instance, what we've done now is roll together not only our routine maintenance, which has been the focus of the contract, but we've also putting into the response to our contractor what was previously called additional work. We're putting into a public construction so that we have the opportunity to procure those services through our contractor for competitive purpose to go to improve roadways instead of just maintaining them. And so I think that I'm excited to see how that gets rolled out and the costs that we get back to those. We're changing the format of the contract as far as the terms. Previously, we've had anywhere from 5 years to 3 years. It's changed over multiple years. We're going to a 1-year base with 2 1-year optional renewables that are mutually acceptable by both parties. So if any party after the term of 1 year chooses to get out, they can do so, whether it be on the contractor side or the borough side. We're removing the performance bond component. This is a service contract, a maintenance contract. Historically, this has had a performance bond required. We're choosing in this instance to remove the performance bond as a requirement to pursue the contract. Berms. This has been a topic of discussion in many cases, not only amongst the community, but amongst several of the Assembly members. So we have structured the opportunity that our base contract requires that there be no berms permissible to be after a contractor comes through to plow snow, that no berms be allowed. But we've also offered an opportunity for 2 deductive alternates for a contractor that sees value in saving time by allowing a 12-inch berm, which is kind of status quo right now, and then an opportunity to also for a deductive alternative. So we're not going to monitor the berm height at all. We're going to plow the road rights of way, and the berms that are allowed will be allowed. Now, if you really stop and think about it, we're going to have an opportunity to achieve or obtain prices to what those varying levels of service will cost us, and we'll be hopefully able to take that back to the RSAs and have a discussion to see what value they place on the berm component within the maintenance contract. And then lastly, you know, we did make some commitment to the RSAs to bring this contract to them before we actually put it out to bid. Unfortunately, we just ran out of time. You know, it was quite a lift. We involved multiple departments in order to restructure this contract, multiple divisions within the Public Works Department. We have a lot of product, I think, that it really improves the document that we're going to put forward. Hopefully, really starts to put forth a program, I call this, not just an obligation to maintain roads, but an obligation to help improve roadways, and really outsources it on a competitive basis to a road maintenance contractor. So I know it's a lot. There's a lot coming on. We look to put these out later this week if we're successful. If not, it'll be out first thing next week. And then we're hoping to have these bids back by early March so they can be part of the budget conversation. That's what I asked. If you have any questions.
Questions to Tom?
May I?
Assembly. Okay, go ahead, online.
Could you please touch on any sort of electronic tracking system that will be in the bids moving forward, please?
Sure, through the mayor, Assembly Member, great point. You know, a big add to this new contract is what we call an augmented vehicle locating device. It's effectively a GPS tool that we are working with contractors. They provide the device, an iPad, a phone, something that most folks have anyhow. And the borough's responsible for providing the application. What it'll be is through our GIS, we'll be able to show our contractors how to use this application. We will see where their vehicles and their operators are at any one time in the field as they're providing service to the borough. Obviously, when they're not providing that service to the borough, they're not obligated to use that tracking device. But we also enhance the ability to show what kind of activity they're performing, whether it be grading activity, whether it be vegetation control, whether it be sweeping, whether it be snow plowing. And it'll be an opportunity. We'll have a forward-facing component to the public that will show, for instance, in a snow event, where a particular activity, where a street's been cleared, where a contractor acknowledges that they've gone through and done the primary clearing of the roadway. And people will be able to see that, you know, you're in my neighborhood or you're 4 miles away, and get a sense of where, you know, the response to their area might be forthcoming. So it's new. I think there's going to be some learning and some growing pains as we move through that process, but I also am pretty excited about the tracking component that will provide, you know, the public works and the borough for that contract.
Assemblyperson McKee.
Thank you, sir. Oh,
Thank you. Were you finished online?
I can follow up after this video, but after everybody, I can go again. It's fine.
This is just a really brief one. The first line I wrote down was leave no berms, and then the 12-inch thing. What does that mean? So,
Through me, Mayor, Member McKee. So currently in our contract now for snow plowing, contractors are allowed to leave a berm that is no higher than 12 inches measured on the homeowner side.
yeah.
And, you know, obviously, that's the standard that we hold them to. If there is a berm higher than that and we receive a complaint, they're required to go out within a 4-hour time period and address that berm situation. You know, there's been a lot of feedback from the community and others about what's an acceptable berm. You know, most folks, they do their driveway, they don't like to see any berm, 4 inches or otherwise. So what we've built in this contract is an opportunity to get the cost of what it would be to provide no berm, what the cost of allowing the current situation is to allow a 12-inch berm, and then the third component would be a cost that would not regulate berm height at all.
I just was gonna follow up on the berm. So what you're saying on the berm, just to explain to us, our trucks or the roads get plowed and the person's driveway is not plowed. Or we're talking about if both of them were plowed and there's a pile of snow that's left. As of currently stands up to, it has to be less than 12 inches. And the new contract that you will have, I guess it's a two-part question, will it have options for you or for us to choose from that will include 0 or 12-inch or not regulate at all? I didn't understand about the options that we'll have and how it's currently implemented and how it would affect if we go with no supervising. If you could follow up on that, please.
Sure, Mayor. So Mayor Bonoff, so A great point. So at the time of bid, what we do is in the bid form, you have a base bid, and the base component requires you not to leave any berm at all. That'll be the per mile cost for routine maintenance. But we're adding a deductive alternate, so there'll be a price applied in 2 occasions for the 12, that allows a 12-inch berm and then doesn't regulate the berm at all. The contractor will actually apply, their deductive. In other words, if they say $1,000 per mile for routine maintenance, but we're going to give you a credit, borough, if you allow us to leave a 12-inch berm of $100. So now the new price, if we choose to accept that, would be $900 per month. Or they could say, we don't want to regulate the berms at all, and we think there's value, and we're going to give you a $300 credit. So now that new per mile cost for routine maintenance would be $700. But the borough's going to get the option to evaluate that. It's just not because it's cheaper by $1 or 90% that it's an automatic. We'll be able to look at each and every offering of the contractor and decide ourselves what is the most advantageous for the RSA based on their preferences and see what that per mile cost is and apply it. Eventually that'll be the award. And that'll stick throughout. They don't get to change the terms of the contract once it's been awarded. We're going to say, we accept your offer of having no berm, so you're going to keep your base cost. Or we're going to accept your offer of a credit against the per mile cost to reduce your base award. And now we're not going to regulate berms at all. And that'll be the standard applied throughout that contract.
And just to, that will only apply to snow, or if they did their gravel maintenance road, to leave the berm of the gravel, because I would think shoveling the snow would be less work intensive if there's a pile of 12 inches of, just pretty much gravel.
The standard is, of course, snow plowing, and that is the problem, is when we're leaving snow berms at a certain point.
Okay, because I believe that would be good to specify that, so accidentally people, that when they grade the gravel roads, so they don't think that, so we don't have a misunderstanding when it comes to the snow and the gravel.
Yeah, there are clarifications in our maintenance standards with respect to graveling and blading versus snow plowing.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
So when you look at those and you said you're going to look over each one and decide which of the 3 categories you're going to use, no berm, 12, or whatever, do the RSAs have any involvement in that?
So through the mayor, Assemblyman McKee, yeah, I mean, we're going to run into a time situation where we need to present information to the Assembly to consider for the budget. But our intent is to receive bids in the early part of March, have meetings with the RSAs, those that do meet in the back half of March, so we can present the information, have a conversation, and then try to make a decision that it best fits that RSA. Try to involve them to the degree possible.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Adams, could you explain in a little bit more detail the rationale for removing the performance bonds? What is the advantage to removing it, and what is the disadvantage to removing the performance bonds?
Sure. Through the mayor to Assemblyman Gamble. So, I mean, there's a history to why the performance bonds became a part of this performance contract. And, I got a little bit of it. I can try to explain that. There are others here that were here. It's my understanding in the past, performance bond was a method that the former bodies used to vet qualified contractors. In other words, if a contractor was able to obtain a bond, the theory was you had a qualified contractor. It prevented the borough from having to do that effort themselves and potentially having contractors that weren't qualified or capable to do the work. I don't know that that's a perfect way of looking at it. I can tell you that over time, I think even those contractors that have had bonds and provided them have not performed. So, from my perspective, this is a service contract. This is a maintenance contract. It's not much like a construction contract where a performance bond has merit. And then furthermore, for this one, we've got 1 year. I mean, if we have a relationship with a contractor that's not working out, or we have a contractor that fails to perform during the term of this contract, we can have another contractor step in.
So, once again, if you could give me a little bit more detail, what is the advantage of having the performance bond, and what is the disadvantage?
Sure. So so a performance bond is there in place if you have a contractor that fails to perform, and you need to provide another provider in. You know, if that cost, the per mile cost, is different than what the contractor that's leaving was providing a service for, and you have an increased cost that hasn't been budgeted for this budget through this fiscal year, that bond could provide the buffer between what you're already paying per month and what you might have to pay as an extra. So you have effectively, you know, a backup for additional costs. The challenges with that is, you know, there are some contractors out there that are challenged to obtain a performance bond, but may be qualified to be able to do this work. And so the thought is, by removing the performance bond, we might be able to open up our palette to allow contractors that might otherwise be interested in pursuing this contract. And it's also our understanding that bonding companies, you know, we took a piece of our conversations to reduce the bond amount by maybe 3 months, because if you get rid of a contractor, it might take a couple months to turn that over. But it's our understanding bonding companies are unable to provide a bond for less than the full value of the contract year. And so we were a little challenged.
Thank you.
Can I follow up real quick?
Yeah.
I want to thank you for that, because we're giving it, how you explained, it's only a year, and both we're asking, either of us can step out to rebid and things like that. I think it does open opportunity, something that I brought up earlier in the previous meetings. We'll give that a try, and hopefully then, I remember when I asked you in the previous meeting, you said you don't remember, and there wasn't much history that we held somebody's money. There's many other steps of layers that we could do to work with the contractor to get them up to the performance or whatever it is before ever even conversation of the bond starts to take place. So I believe it will give an opportunity for maybe some of the people to step in, and that's one of the factors of cost of a person who's performing the contract. Hopefully it'll bring the cost for us as a consumer down. So I want to say thank you for that.
Alternate Deputy Mayor Leon, should we circle back to you? I think you had something earlier that we sort of glossed over.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Tom, I'd like to go back to the GPS discussion real quick. I'm really excited about this. I know it's something we've been talking about for, I think, 11 months now. So what I want you to touch on is what's going to be our path forward if somebody's not performing. There will be no discretion at this point. It's going to be your GPS was moving and you got the work done, or you weren't moving and you didn't get the work done. And if they're not getting the work done in a timely manner, could you please let us know what the process is going to look like for getting a different contractor to step in immediately? Is that going to be an hourly rate thing that the contractors bid during the contract time, where they choose an hourly rate and then we just bring somebody else in to do it at that rate? Or what's your vision for that, sir?
So through the mayor to some member, there's a couple parts of answering that question. Is we still have the component that's current today where we have deficiency notices. In other words, it's a communication between the borough and the contractor identifying where they may not be in compliance with the contract. Typically when we make those notifications to the contractor and they resolve those in a timely manner, issue closed, move on. But where we might have those deficiencies that remain unresolved or are not timely, the contract as it stands now, we always have opportunities to pursue a breach of contract and terminate the cause. Obviously that's something that both parties try not to have to, take advantage of, I guess is the right way to do that. And as far as bringing in other contractors, I didn't highlight the fact that part of our bid documents do identify equipment rates outside. So if it's services outside of the scope of work that we're procuring, whether it be routine maintenance, outside routine maintenance, or the public construction component, we do have equipment rates that if we did have to bring a contractor in to help out, we would have the advantage of negotiated rates, I guess, or agreed rates at the time of contract, that we could implement those on a T&M basis if necessary during a certain short duration of time that we would have to eliminate one contractor and then have enough time to negotiate with another to take it on at effectively another agreed per mile price. So, you know, the processes aren't much different than what's available to us now, Assemblymember Young. It's just a matter of, we would prefer not to have to follow that process if there's a better way to get the services done, completed.
I understand, and I hope that's a process we never have to you know, go down that road as well. But and then, are any one of the superintendents going to be tasked with monitoring the GPSs? Is that going to be one of the responsibilities moving forward now, sort of like a switchboard operator, or how do you see that going?
So through the mayor, like I said, there's going to be some learning on both sides, like both the contractor and the borough side. So, you know, our RMSs, our road maintenance superintendents, will have tablets. They'll be able to see exactly where their areas of responsibility are, and the contractors working within those zones, and they'll be able to monitor that. We always have the GIS component, so I mean there will be access internally that will provide data and information available to myself, for instance, in the office, or others, you know, that are identified and provided that access. But to the public, they could go online to the tool and they'll be able to see their area as well. They might have, we're restricting the real-time component of it to be a little bit of delay as to the reporting for some security purposes. But as far as monitoring, yes, the RMSs on a daily basis will have access to the information that allows them to use the tool effectively.
Thank you. And then back to the berms, I know Valdez and Juneau, who both get substantially more snow than we do at times, they don't have a berm policy. So I think what you're doing by having it bid out 2 or 3 different ways is amazing. And then each RSA, in conjunction with their assembly member, can decide what's best. And there's a good chance we won't see the same berm policy in every RSA. But people will get to choose what's best for them, and I think that's awesome. Back to the performance bonding, this is a little worrisome to me. I know I've worked that in the past. You know, I do like having a third-party entity that looks over people's financials and determines if they're capable or not. But being that we're moving to a 1-1-1 contract, a 1 year, and they're optional. And being that the borough has never actually attached anybody's bond, I would say that this is the right direction to head in for now. Great job getting the additional work, or what's been additional work in the past, into the contract and getting rates up front so that we know and the taxpayers know what they're going to get for their money moving forward. All in all, I got to say, I want you to know this. I've been here almost 4 years now, and what you're doing with this contract is amazing. I appreciate all of the vision and the hard work that's gone into this. I think the taxpayers and the contractors and the assembly and mayor are all going to be in a much, much better position moving forward under these new contract terms than we were in the past. And we can get back to hopefully the relationship business. Contractors don't got to feel trapped. With that being said, if they're not doing their job, we can let them go. So I appreciate all the hard work and that you put into this. I know it's been the bulk of what you've done since you were hired on, and I hope you know you guys did an awesome job with it. Thanks, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
So this is, to the assembly, just 2 points of clarification. One, it's technically the location technology is not GPS. It's actually based on cellular coverage. So where we have gaps in cell coverage may lead to gaps on the dashboard, right? Because we have rural areas that don't have great coverage everywhere. My point is, we're not buying GPS transceivers and installing those on contractor equipment. We're leveraging cellular technology that does geolocation. It's a much more cost-effective approach, and it doesn't involve hardwiring equipment or hardwiring a transceiver to somebody else's equipment. And then the second piece is understanding that we're only bidding out 7 of 16 RSAs. So, you know, as we embark on this transition this fall, you know, when the public's looking at it and going, well, why does my RSA not have a dashboard? It's because you're under an old contract, right? So we're in the process of transitioning. Therefore, it's not going to be like all 16 at one time. So just keep that in mind, because I think that will create some confusion for the community at times, because we're not moving all 16 contracts this year. We're moving about half, roughly.
On them,
one-on-one, the length now being at pretty, potentially very short, would it be, is there a deadline, and can you express when the contractor says, you know, he doesn't intend to quit, and, or we don't intend, perhaps there's a clause for intend to continue and intend to separate type of thing so that we are not pinched on them, you know, on a very small time frame to start looking for another contractor, because if there is intent from our side and from their side to continue, then we almost know that we're moving forward, so that as an indication almost, and perhaps if our intent is to let them go, we almost could express our maybe potential concern, and they might bring up their standard of service or whatever it is. Is there enough time frame right now if potentially 3 years in a row, unless a certain RSA will have to be bidded out, let's just say?
To remember, yes, we're using this time frame right now. You know, a declaration by the contractor by, you know, maybe the end of January, so that if we were forced to put out a new contract, that we'd have sufficient time to advertise, procure bids, do the same thing we're doing right now, have a part of the, have that number, that value for the contract be part of the budgeting side, budgeting conversation, so that we're not, you know, like you said, caught in a pinch by not having sufficient dollars in our budget to, you know, for a contract that might escalate. So, you know, end of January is the time frame that we are dictating to a contractor to declare.
Further questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last one. Just wanted to give a quick update on the challenge materials in borough libraries. After the most recent challenge materials review committee meeting on January 18th, I suspended our challenge review materials policy. The last meeting devolved and is not producing a positive outcome for our community. I acknowledge the value of having a process for patrons to challenge material, but until such time as we can come up with a different approach, I don't think there's value in continuing to put materials through the current process. Now, since this process began, 4 books' status have changed because of the challenges. 3 books were removed from the young adult section to the adult section, and 1 was removed from the shelf altogether. Additionally, after the January 18 meeting, we changed the labeling of the young adult section in all of our libraries from ages 14 through 17 to 16 through 17. This is intended to communicate that there may be materials in the young adult section that some may deem inappropriate for 14 and 15-year-olds, and parents should make those decisions. Borough youth library cards require parental signature acknowledging that control of what a person under 18 checks out is the responsibility of the parent. Parents can log into their children's accounts online as well to view what their kids have checked out. So bottom line, what I was really wanting to center these comments on tonight is really the conduct of public meetings. And I would submit to you that I think the borough standard for what a public meeting looks like is this meeting. And I don't think the mayor would ever accept some of the conduct that we witnessed at the January 18 meeting. So all I'm trying to do is press the reset button and say that any borough public meeting should look like this meeting. So I just wanted to kind of put that on the record and talk through it. That's what we're aiming for. If there are any questions about why did you suspend the policy, that's what's mainly behind it. So I just wanted to share that with the assembly, and that concludes a longer than I expected report.
Thank you. Alrighty. Mr. Attorney, no report. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Members of the Assembly, the clerk's report is in your red folder. What it does have on there are the suggested budget meetings are being proposed. April 11th for the departmental budget presentations, April 23rd, April 25th, and April 30th as public hearings, and then May 2nd, 9th, and 14th for the deliberations of the Assembly. Are these meetings the Assembly would like to schedule? They're about the same time frame as we do annually.
Any comments on the scheduling of the budget meetings?
Can you please review those?
April 11th would be the departmental budget presentations. April 23rd, April 25th, April 30th would be budget public hearings. May 2nd, 9th and 14th would be deliberation meetings.
Thank you.
Yes, Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
Yeah, do you know when spring break is this year? I bet you would know.
Generally, I do believe the first part of March.
Spring break.
Yeah.
This year, it's the same time as the Arctic Winter Games.
10 to 16.
Yeah, so it's in March. Okay. And they did that as a courtesy to the Arctic Winter Games, so the schools can be used as the villages for the dorms for the Arctic Winter Games, and we're very thankful for that. Thank you. Anybody else in any, with the rest of your report, if you have more?
I do, and speaking of the Arctic Winter Games, during that time, we have a Joint Assembly Planning Commission meeting that's scheduled. I would ask the Assembly if they would want to go ahead and cancel that meeting, because there are a number of staff that are going to be working the Arctic Winter Games. And if we could cancel the March 12th Joint Assembly Planning Commission meeting.
Is there any objection to that being postponed or canceled completely? Okay, I don't hear any objection there.
And then the last thing, Estelle in my office sent out the Assembly, the APOC financial disclosure forms. Those are due on March 15th. Please make sure you do get them done and print out a copy and give a hard copy to our office. We're required to have that hard copy. So please get that done by March 15th. Estelle will probably send out reminders as we get closer.
Questions regarding that? Everybody understand what that is? Okay. All righty, the next item is citizens and other correspondence. Are there any comments on the citizens and other correspondence? Okay, hearing none, then they are presented. Okay, Madam Clerk, if you will read the IMs into the record, please.
IM 24032, reporting conclusion of contract 23106B with Pro Stripe LLC for a total contract amount of $341,828.50 for the 2023 road striping project. IM 24033, reporting conclusion of contract 22134B with Bruce Construction Company for the total contract amount of $2,551,247.61 for the Felton Street Extension Project. IM 24038, reporting conclusion of contract 23056B with Mass Excavation for the total contract amount of $1,153,893.27 for the Government Peak Overflow Parking Lot Project. IM 24047, informing the Assembly of the manager's signature on and submittal of a federal fiscal year 2024 State Homeland Security Program grant application to the Alaska State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, requesting a grant in the amount of $558,000 for the Department of Emergency Services. And IM 24048, informing the Assembly of the pending United States Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration document that requires the borough manager's signature prior to their approval of a construction contract with Western Marine Construction for the installation of pile sleeve and cathodic protection at Port McKenzie.
Any comments on the IMs? Okay, hearing none, then they are presented. The next item is persons to be heard. We do not have any requests for persons to be heard.
Ordinance 24003, an ordinance creating North Victor Road Paving Local Improvement District number 660, approving the improvement plan for the district, and authorizing the manager to proceed with the improvement and assessing equally among the properties within the district the cost of the improvement. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Hi, staff report we have.
Through the mayor to the Assembly, Cheyenne Heigl, Finance Director. Before you is an ordinance to create North Victor Road Paving LID. This LID, proposed LID had 38 ballots mailed. 33 of those were returned. 10 were marked yes, 23 were marked no, for 30% yes, 70% no. At this time, staff is asking the Assembly to fail this ordinance.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, all right, thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance 24-003. Do we have a sign-up sheet? No sign-up sheet. So anyone that's in the audience, either online or in person, if they would like to testify on ordinance 24-003. We do not have anything online. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and some person, Campbell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance 24-003.
Okay. Discussion. Yes. Person McKee, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when I looked at this thing on page 205, it says, whereas ballots marked yes for more than 54% of the ballots received from the owners of the property, varying the total estimated cost, blah, blah, blah. When you look at the ballot, returns,
The ballot, they would have gotten, Cheyenne can tell us better, would have been yes, you're voting in favor of this, or no, you're not voting in favor of it. And in order for it to pass, it had to have 54% of, what did you say, 30 ballots, or 38 ballots? I'll let her do it, so we get the figures right.
Mayor to Assemblymember McKee. Code requires 54% of the ballots be marked yes. In this case, 38 ballots were sent, 10 ballots were marked yes, 23 were marked no, so therefore,
it's, yeah,
right.
thanks.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, is there any objection to the motion passing?
There should be.
There should be.
Yeah.
I object.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor, thank you. So hearing objection, then clerk will instruct you.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Assemblymember Hale.
No.
Assemblymember Nowers.
No.
Assemblymember Yunt.
No.
Madam Mayor, it failed, and Assemblymember Fanoff in support.
Thank you.
Ordinance 24017, an ordinance approving the sale of borough-owned property and identified as Lot 99 Rustic Wilderness Division 2 to the adjacent property owner, Roar Ingerbritsen, and I hope I said that right. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Hi, good evening. To the Assembly through the Mayor. My name is Jill Ursick. I work in the Land Management Division, and this is yet another adjacent property owner sale by application. This property was owned by, was issued a clerk's deed to the borough for failure to pay property taxes back in 1990. It's been in borough ownership for 34 years. It is a substandard lot, so it is one of those properties that the adjacent property owner can apply to purchase. The legislation before you is to approve that sale.
Questions on staff? Okay. And we will go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 24-017. Sign-up sheet we do not have. Anyone here or online that would like to testify on this ordinance? Okay. Do you have anybody online? No? Okay. So I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 24-017. Deputy Mayor?
I move to adopt ordinance 24-017.
Okay, is there discussion? Is there objection? Okay, hearing no objection, the legislation passes.
Ordinance 24018, an ordinance approving an appropriation of $675,000 from the Central MatSu Fire Service Area Fund balance to repair pumper tender 6-2. The accompanying resolution 24018, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for a project to facilitate repairs of pumper tender 6-2 for Central MatSu Fire Service Area. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Assembly, and staff. Ken Barkley, Director of Emergency Services. On November 2nd, 2023, during an ice storm Department of Emergency Services responded to multiple vehicle accidents, just extremely icy out. During one of the responses, we had 2 emergency vehicles responding to the scene on a 90-degree turn. The first vehicle started sliding toward the actual vehicle they were responding to and was able to go into the ditch and onto a bike path to avoid that. The second vehicle did the same. It was a fire truck, and it slid sideways and was able to catch the front tires to slow it down. But what happened is, when it caught the front tires, the vehicle spun around at about 5 miles an hour. When it stopped, the force pushed it into the snowbank, and then it made a slow rollover. So the actual fire truck slid onto its side. Due to the vehicle being 2021, all the safety devices installed worked as they should. 4 firefighters on board, no injuries. They were actually able to get out of the vehicle and attend to the vehicle they were responding to and get their equipment out to do so. What we're asking for, we had the manufacturer actually come up here to Alaska free of charge and look at the vehicle. We need to know if it's repairable. And they deemed that it is repairable. The frame was not bent on it. And we're asking $675,000 to repair this. That will include shipping it there. It also includes us to go down and inspect it when it was done and shipping the vehicle back. The new vehicle to replace this would be about $1.5 million for the same vehicle. We looked at it, we went to the Fire Service Area Board, they voted unanimously that we should repair this vehicle at that cost. So if this is approved, AM 24-006 is requesting the funds, permission to spend the funds. So those are related if you look further on. Any questions?
Questions to staff? Yes. Yeah.
Just a comment, Director Barkley, in addition to the $1.5 million replacement for a new vehicle, it would only take about 1/3 of the time to get this vehicle repaired and back on the road, is that correct?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Gamble, that's correct. I'm glad you mentioned that. We're looking at about under a 5-month turnaround to get this done. Where this truck will be going, they have 2 plans. One is for vehicles that have been in an accident, and one is if you purchase them new. So this will get a turnaround. We should have it back within 5 months versus 24 to 36 months to purchase a new one. Thank you.
Assemblyperson Fowler.
For the questioning and wanting to know just the answer, is a procedure, I guess, with a simple question, do we not have insurance, or if we do, are we self-insured? Can you just please explain that?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Wanoff, the borough is self-insured. Being that this vehicle was not involved, did not hit any other vehicles or any facilities, it's just the fire truck that was damaged. The borough is self-insured, so therefore the burden is on us. And if you have further questions, I can phone a friend.
And I guess just to explain to people, the self-insured means we save on a cost to pay regularly to outside sources, just to say, and we save it in case this kind of thing happens, and we fund it so that people understand that the concept of self-insured. That's what I wanted to bring up.
Through the mayor, Senator Wanoff, thank you, and that is correct. And this money we're asking for is coming out of the fire department's reserve fund balance, so we're not asking for additional funding.
Okay, further questions or comments? Okay, all right, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Assemblyperson McKee.
Just a question. When they do this kind of major repair, obviously it is major, is there like a warranty period where this thing is as good as new and we really get what we need here?
Through the mayor, Assemblyman McKee, yes, there is a warranty. It is a 1-year warranty. In addition to the warranty that's already on the vehicle, we get an additional 1 year.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Seeing no other comments, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 24-018. No sign-up sheet. Okay. Anyone here would like to testify on this ordinance? Okay, anyone online? No. Okay, one last chance. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing and Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 24-018 and resolution 24018.
Okay, discussion. Any objection? Seeing and hearing no objection, the legislation passes.
Ordinance 24019, an ordinance appropriating $500,000 from the area-wide fund balance to the Arctic Winter Games project for an as-needed grant to supplement funding for the 2024 Arctic Winter Games. The accompanying resolution 24022, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for an as-needed grant to supplement funding for the 2024 Arctic Winter Games. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff?
Through the mayor to the Assembly, Cheyenne, I'm Finance Director. Before you is an ordinance and a resolution to appropriate $500,000 from the area-wide fund balance. At budget time, we had let you know that this money was being set aside in case it would be needed at Arctic Winter Games. We are bringing the legislation before you now because it looks as if there may be as we put it, a timing difference as to when cash is received as to when it needs to be spent. Many of their state grants are reimbursable grants, and we don't want the Arctic Winter Games to be in a situation where they need to pay invoices and do not have the cash flow available to pay those invoices. So what we're asking for is this money to be appropriated into the project and available if they need it for the manager to make that determination so we can quickly respond and keep our vendors paid timely.
Any questions? Okay.
Yeah,
Somebody on?
It was Assemblymember Young.
Yeah.
may I?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I appreciate what you're doing here. I agree we don't want to pay our bills late, so this is good. But looking at the budget as a whole, do we see any shortcomings in the budget right now for the money we anticipate receiving and what we anticipate spending? Do you think this is going to be more of a bridge and we'll see the money back at some point, or do you think we're a little bit short right now?
Yeah, so, yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Yunt. So, just to be clear, what we're talking about here, this appropriation would put it in a project account that would allow the borough to provide a grant agreement to the Arctic Winter Games host society. So the cash flow issue is not a borough cash flow issue. It's a host society cash flow issue. And the issue is, you know, some of the state grants that come in, they pay those based on reimbursement. You got to pay it up front. So that's what's creating the issue here, is that they have to pay some of those invoices up front. They can submit to the state for reimbursement and they'll get paid, but there's a delay there. So what this does is allows us to move forward and make sure they don't have that issue, and that they can get through. I think when we talked about this, and I detailed it in the IM, that's attached to this ordinance, we think that's about something less than $250,000, I think, is the cash flow. As far as the overall budget, in terms of revenues and expenditures, things are looking pretty good right now. Obviously, some of the merchandising that will contribute to their revenues is projections still, and we'll see where that lands. But as it stands today, it's not a budget shortfall, it's just managing the cash flow to get through the game. So this would allow, the Assembly would be granting me the discretion to provide that grant agreement for that purpose to make sure that we can walk through that. But I do want to make it very clear, it's not a borough cash flow issue.
Thank you, sir.
Further questions from the Assembly person? Yeah,
Thank you,
go ahead.
Madam Mayor. Are there guidelines for what this money can be expended for? I guess my point is, so if you provide this money for them and they use it for something that's not covered by a grant or other sources of revenue, I mean, are we going to be monitoring what they're spending these funds on?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember McGapple. Yes, that is the intent. The intent is not necessarily to give them the $500,000. They would need to come and let us know that they need the assistance to bridge that gap, and then possibly pay it back to the borough.
See any more questions? Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 24-022 and resolution 24-022. Sign up sheet, no. Okay. So anyone here? No. Caleb, anybody online? No. Okay, one last chance. Anybody here? Okay. Close the public hearing. Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 24-022. 24.
Your mic.
Your mic.
Your microphone. I move to adopt ordinance 24-019.
No, 24-022.
And resolution 24-022. Sorry if I did not write that for
No, that's right.
Assemblymember Bernier.
I move to adopt ordinance 24-022 and resolution 24-022.
Okay. Discussion? Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, the legislation passes. Next is the audience participation. Everyone want to proceed on, or anybody want a break? Anyone for a break? Okay. All right. So we'll come back at 7:30.
Okay, my fellow Alaskans, you guys all heard it here first. It's going to be resuming at 7:30 directly with public comment, which is what a good portion of those in the room are here for right now. I myself am signed up. I will be after many that will be leading the discussion of this continuation. This is the third time that folks have gathered together, the second time gathered together for this particular issue. For the other issue, like for the public libraries, that has been an ongoing battle now for almost a year, if not longer, to getting it to where the process has been completely stalled out, and the borough manager is now justifying what happened at the last meeting, that the public libraries committee is the justification to stall and do no more books until that is reviewed. If you are actually watch the video, you can see the biggest problem with the committee is they don't want any public input. They do not want to hear from us. They do not want to hear from parents, from the concerned public out there about what is being introduced into the libraries out there that our taxes are paying for. You could go to any local bookstore and go and buy these books. They're not banned as the ones advocating out there saying that you're banning books. That is not true. You're not banning books. They're just is what our taxes are paying for has to be scrutinized, and if it is glorifying sex, pornophilia, incest, cutting yourself, drug use, and all of that, and it's promoting it to children and glorifying it, putting it up on a pedestal, those kind of materials do not need to be getting into the hands of our children or easily accessible to it. If parents want to make a choice to go get those things, buy it from Amazon. Go to Barnes and Noble, go to your local bookstore and order it. But our taxes shouldn't be paying to put those books onto the shelves. All right, I'm going to be back in just a little bit. As you know me well enough, I am going to leave this as a live mic, so we'll see you guys all here at 7:30.
Or they move.
I'm getting close to where I gotta watch that real close. Take care. You've been talking to my wife again?
No, I thought you
Okay.
were leaving. Then I
No,
know I
no.
got you. I said, oh,
No.
never mind.
I need all the help I can get, believe me.
Yeah, I didn't know. I think I
That's good. Okay. Is it the hair? Sorry about that. You're looking awful serious.
Like, if I don't, I'll go to sleep. I'm tired.
So have you done the winter season and all this?
After
This has been a real winter this year.
after the last 2 winters, I'm invited to snow.
Last year, this year, I never thought it'd be worse than last year.
When I was younger, no big deal. Anymore, I'm just like, I don't want to. I don't want
We've got
to.
almost 3 feet of snow in the Arctic.
The side of my house where the wind blows all the snow, it's almost to my roof. The dogs will put the fence that way, so now I've got to put a, because I can't keep digging it out. So now I've got a chicken wire fence up that goes up about 8 feet up. I'm sure my neighbors will love it.
I remember my buddy Kenny White telling me that back in the 50s, he was blowing my west and there was a lot of snow. And there was very cat. He let the cattle out the right time for exercise and go right over the fence. And then the snow was.
Yeah, and it comes back so hard.
Sweet. I know.
I'm over it now. Yeah. How about yourself? Oh, okay. Okay. What makes it easier to get to work with the sunshine, doesn't it? I'll try not to listen to very far. I try not to surround
Hi, my fellow Alaskans. I wanted to take a moment here to speak to all of you. We are here at the MatSu Borough Assembly, and we got to listen today to a lot of different subjects about what's going on within the borough for bills that they want to pay, things that they want to do. But the main part that was important to really be paying attention to was when the borough manager there was given a description about why the public library review committee has been put on hold. The process, he says, is broken. It's out of hand. Well, when you take the ability of the average Joe, you, me, every concerned parent within the state of Alaska, grandparents, you name it, anybody that is concerned with what is being handed and put into the hands of our children, knowingly knowing that the material in it is not suitable for anybody under the age of 18, it's appalling that your level of victimhood, your self-identifying to the books, your level of suffrage that you've gone through in your own personal life is what justifies putting these kind of things that are glorifying, as I pointed out more than once, pornographic material, pedophilia, incest, binging, cutting yourself. The list is too numerous. Drug use, it's appalling. And how the subject matter of the book that was being reviewed when this committee went out of hand, as they put it, was literally, by any normal standards of a test, should never have been in the public library to begin with. Now, the committee members say that they can't be held criminally liable for putting this, allowing and giving this material to our children, because one of their defenses is they're not the ones that chooses these books and puts them on the shelf. They haven't read them. Because they haven't read them, they shouldn't be held responsible. Well, now this review committee, some of them are public library people that work in the public library, now know what's inside of these books, yet they still approve them to be put onto the shelves for our children to be able to read them. And it really goes to show you the level that they are going to try to confuse the issue. Oh, the victimhood, we're the victims. The one in the committee are considering themselves the victims, and the public out there in their outcry for the process, they are the bullies. They are the ones that are, they're the extremists out there, when in reality it's the opposite way around. In fact, one of those public review committee, library review committee board members decided to go and attack a private business out here in Alaska at the after that was all over with. They were upset with me here at Politadick. They did not like the fact that I streamed this video uncut and unfiltered. They don't want the public to be able to see the chaos that is going on in the book review process in our public libraries, because it's their agenda. It's what they want you to see. It's their narrative. They have canceled more than one meeting of reviewing of these books and for the board that is supposed to be public record. They do not put it on the bulletin board where you can go to the MatSu Borough's website and go look up when their next meeting is going to be, because they haven't been publishing it. They haven't been following the rules themselves, trying to keep this process out of the hands of the average everyday person like you and me. Now, public testimony is up next. This will be a continuation on of what the borough manager, Mike Brown, had to say here just a little bit ago about not disbanding, but putting a hold on the committee until the process can be reviewed better. Well, the first start for it would be is to make sure that those that are reviewing the book are not 100% self-identifying with the material that is already in the book. If you were anything, if you go and read the book itself and hear their testimony of why they felt that this book should be left on the shelf, It had nothing to do with that. It was outright everything that I named off earlier: porn. It was glorifying pedophilia, incest, cutting, binging, drug use, the glorification of it, the giddiness that the person that was being narrated into the story had over what was occurring to them, and how the members on this board seem to all self-identify with this. I'm not going to label all of them, that's kind of a strong saying, but the majority were. And now it's time for us to get started here. They're calling it back together. I'm going to go ahead and mute this mic and put on the other one. Stay tuned. Fun begins.
Go ahead and have the assembly come back to order, please.
I got time to say hello to Madam Mayor.
Huh?
How you doing, young lady?
I'm doing good. How are you?
It's going good. Just wanted to say that.
I don't know, it looks like we could have had a break for another half hour, but I know all of us want to get home and get to bed, so anyway, so thank you for being obedient. So the next item on our agenda is audience participation, and we do have a sign-up sheet. And as our method is, I will call on the people that have signed up, and then we will allow anyone else that hasn't testified that would like to, and we'll also go online once or twice to be sure we get everybody in. So anyway, Jackie, you're the first one to sign up. And all of you know you have 3 minutes, and state your name for the record, please. Even though I have acknowledged you, it's good for you.
It's a crime against children. What's in that book is crimes against children. There are 4 children in this book that are sexually molested. 4. In fact, 2 of them are sex trafficked. They're filmed, and the film is put out. And you know what the subliminal message is in this book? Children are not going to be protected. Pedophiles are. That is the subliminal message of Identical. The father committed vehicular homicide in there, and nothing happened to him either. That's the problem. Nothing happens to the pedophiles in this. These are crimes against children. And you know who has to pay? The children. That's the message in this book. This book has some subliminal messaging in it too. There's self-harm, incest, sex scenes, drug scenes, alcohol abuse, depressive ideation, and it's all the children who have to pay. The pedophiles never do. And this book also glamorizes and entices children to do all of the above, and this is what I'm talking about. Page 25. At least Mick won't confuse me with Kaylee. She wouldn't go near him. He's too much like Daddy. Both of them are tough on the outside, but dig deep down beneath the skin, there's a soft, gooey core. Auger into that core like tapping maple, and you'll get doused with incredibly sweet sap. Kaylee would never appreciate it, but I do. I love it. And if Daddy would just stand still for me, I'd happily tap his core. Page 19. Kaylee closed herself off from Daddy. I think she's completely insane. I crave his affection. Would he fall on his knees in front of me if he realized I want to love him the way Mom used to? Page 28. You think because of the things I've seen Daddy do, I'd be disgusted by sex? No way. I like how it feels physically, yes. Kisses, hot and prickly as August. Hands, tan and rough against my soft white skin. And last, extreme punctuation. Page 62. I'm frozen solid in place, just like I was that first night when Daddy came. It was a year or so after the accident. That night he drank just enough. Kaylee girl, his voice was soft, his. Are you awake? Talk to me. Daddy, is she so lonely? Kaylee, all sweetness, wanted to comfort Daddy, who drew her onto his lap, stroked her hair. Finally, he kissed her on the lips. Not with anything nasty or mean, but it was with misplaced love. Love meant for Mom. And then they both fell asleep, woven together. This is what I mean by glamorizing incest. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Tracy Lawrence.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Hello.
Pull it down a little bit there. Yeah,
Yes.
there you
Can you
go.
hear me? Hello, my name is Tracy Lorenz, and first I need to apologize because I did not realize how much was going on in our little community about this situation. My children are grown and gone, so I'm not well versed in what's been happening in our schools, and for this I truly apologize. But yay for me. I was hunted down and dragged into this situation because someone assumed my political beliefs, which is funny because nobody here knows what my political beliefs are. This person happens to be one of your equals. She thought it was necessary to personally message me to threaten and intimidate my business, my livelihood, because of what she thought was my political beliefs. And I think this is truly uncalled for. I've said my piece to her, and I will apologize. I was not very ladylike, but I got my point across, and I thought we were done. She just keeps dragging it out. So then I thought, if she sought me out, how many other people has she intimidated with her position in this town? I can stand up to bullies. I'm not afraid of them. But I do know there are people out there who don't know how to, or who are scared that this lady could destroy their livelihood. It is pretty ironic that she calls people terrorists, who pick on people for their political beliefs, when that is exactly what she did to me and others, I'm guessing. So I'm not here for me tonight. I'm not here for me. I'm here for those people who are sitting at home afraid of her intimidation. I ask you to please keep this lady controlled. She needs a hobby. She needs to open her eyes and realize that everything she says and does is not only hypocritical, but is the representation of those businesses she's aligned with. So I guess the only good thing about this whole situation that she dragged me into is now I am paying more attention to my community, which I am very grateful for. But I will not let anyone intimidate me, my business, my family, my kids, or myself. I don't believe in bullies, and I will not allow it to happen. Thank you so very much.
Madam Mayor, Assembly, how are you guys tonight? My name's Ron Tracy. I've been on the Port Commission for one term now. I have been the chair for the past 2 years, and I just found out on the vacancy report that I was being replaced when, don't know if it was a clerical error or a misunderstanding of when my term was up or something like that. But I just wanted to come forward to you guys to say that we've been building this Port Commission for the last year, and we're finally getting the right people on there to have a quorum on a regular basis, since we've had a real problem having people show up, and start building the Port Commission to go with the new port director. So I just came to plead my case of that I should be able to stay on the Port Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Carter?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Assembly members. My name is Carter Debach, D-E-B-A-C-H, and I'm the owner of Debach Auto Salvage LLC of Wasilla, Alaska. During the August 8th Assembly meeting, a lot of the community councils came here and were speaking about some of the issues in the community. One of those big issues were the problem of junk vehicles and trash in the communities. So I've come up with an idea, is just to solicit, maybe bringing up solicit the idea of bringing up maybe a bill about how we can offer service, the MatSu Borough can offer service to members of the community. And that bill that I was kind of thinking about was offering an auto salvage yard in the MatSu Borough, up for bid, about $100,000, offering free junk vehicle drop-off. My business, for the last quarter of 2023, I received over 600 vehicles, and all those have been free junk vehicle drop-off. I mean, I'm getting in more than what I can handle. Next year, what I'm probably going to do is be charging my customers probably about $50 a vehicle to help with processing the vehicles, draining the fluids. And my concern is, if I am charging members of the community, it's going to reduce how many vehicles are coming into my yard. I think it's a big issue. All you can agree that there's a lot of junk vehicles in the community, and I'd like to see a bill pushed out to where, hey, we're willing to help subsidize this business to help with the free junk vehicle drop-off. Unlike the lower 48, where there's a lot of metal refineries, where it's auto salvage yards can offer, hey, if you got a junk vehicle, you can drop it off and we'll pay you $250, $500 a vehicle. So Alaska has a unique issue where we have no metal refineries in the state of Alaska. We have to ship all of our steel down south or to Asian countries, and it costs us a lot of money. So there's not a huge profit in that. So we have to either accept the vehicles for free when the price is high, or we have to charge the customers. And right now the price is low. There's no money in it. So it's just a solicited idea, and that's all I wanted to say. I'm running out of time. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bert?
Hi, my name is Bert. You guys, most of you anyways, know me by my stage name or by my business name, Politadick. I run an alternative news media company that prides ourselves on being unfiltered and uncut from start to finish. We show up on meetings like this one here when controversies that mainstream media does not want to cover. We were a part of the Public Book Review Committee's meeting that happened here at the MatSu Borough. And it did evolve down into chaos. And it was started at the level of the board members that were sitting up there doing a review of the books. They don't want to hear from us parents. They don't want to hear from the concerned citizens of Alaska that live in the MatSu Borough District about those books. If you did not self-identify with the material that you're reading, your victimhood was not at the level of theirs that were sitting in that committee as they all gave testimony to in the books that they were reviewing, then you are just not worthy enough for them. As a matter of record, they went and targeted a business here in the MatSu Valley. This business had absolutely nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with the meeting that was at hand, absolutely nothing. But one of those board members took it upon themselves to go directly after them. Why? Because someone who's like me, who promotes other businesses, sponsors, people that like to donate to what I do, help their cause, I want to help them out too. I want to give a shout out to those businesses, which is what I do at the end of my broadcast. I give shout outs to different businesses. One of them happened to be at the end of this broadcast of this public library's book review. One of the board members sitting up there, I like to call them Karens, because the Karens always like to butt their nose into the middle of everybody else's business, and 99% of the time, they're wrong. This one was wrong. She stepped out of her position as a board committee review member and went directly after a business that had absolutely nothing to do with it, threatening their livelihood, because I gave a shout out to them because they gave me a beautiful, beautiful American palette reclaimed flag to be able to hang on my wall during my broadcast. If you in the MatSu Borough Assembly, who has control over this public library review committee for the MatSu Borough, don't do something to rein in your out of control committee, then honestly, you don't have the public's best interest in mind. Thank you.
Amen.
page. I'm going to continue reading where Jackie left off. Page 64. The one innocent joining was only the beginning, but neither realized it that night. And all I could do was linger in a dark corner, sharp jabs of envy tearing my eyes. I guess, page 65, I guess I could have offered description of Daddy's privates, his word, the way he wears his scars. Instead, I stood by and watched father love turn to lust, page 66. I fell asleep, thinking about Daddy kissing Kaylee, craving his kiss, understanding its significance, page 80. No doubt he'll be watching the sway of Kaylee's hips, craving her, and a drink. Not sure which one he craves more, but tonight he'll have to play this good, sober husband and devoted father. Page 114. Memory strikes suddenly, chokes me, strangles me. It was dark in my room, very dark. Someone had closed the curtain. I was small, maybe 9. Mommy wasn't home, but Daddy was. He lurched through my door. That scared me, but why? He never hurt me before, only touched me lovingly, like any daddy. Don't be afraid, little flower. It's only me. And almost instantly, Daddy made everything seem just fine. Page 150. Someone had closed the curtain. Kaylee was scared. I tried to tell her not to worry. But just then, Daddy burst through the door. I closed my eyes tight, made myself no more than a shadow. Something about him was different. I didn't want that something to find me. I cracked my eyes just a slit as he sat on Kaylee's bed, pulled her into his lap. He smelled of brute and wild turkey. His peculiar potpourri. I love you so much, my little flower. Daddy needs something from my girl, my sweet rose. Will you give it to me? I wanted to be his little flower, would have gotten my daddy anything. What did he want from Kaylee? She laid her head on his chest. What? Page 151. I want you to see something that proves how much I love you. This is only for you, Kaylee girl. He lifted her gently, sat her down on the bed beside him. Then he opened the snaps on the fly of his flannel pajamas. It stood up, stiff as a stalagmite. See how much Daddy loves you? Show me you love me too. Touch it. He closed her hand around it. I know it sounds bad, but I wanted to touch it too. I didn't know what it meant, only that it made Daddy happy. I wanted to make him happy too. That's right, that's right. His voice rocked in rhythm with his body. Oh yes, my Kaylee loves me, my little flower. Page 152. When Daddy finished, he burrowed his head into Kaylee's hair and wept. Confused at his tears and at the sticky stuff icing her hand, still Kaylee pleaded. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Assembly, and staff. My name is Karen Lewis, and what's being passed out is Borough Library Policy Proposal. Jackie wrote it, most of it. I added some things, but I think since you don't have a committee anymore, library committee anymore, you need to form another one. So there's some good ideas here. On the second page on B, I want to read that. It says, convene when any request for reconsideration of library materials form reaches the level of hearing. Also, it's vital for the community to have a voice when reconsiderations are requested. One of the 3 prongs in the Miller test states, quote, whether the average person applying contemporary adult community standards finds that the matter depicts or describes sexual conduct in a patently offensive way, unquote. So the reason it got out of hand in January is because people weren't allowed to speak. And this stuff is obnoxious and the community must speak. That's what happened. We weren't allowed to speak, well, we spoke anyway. That's what happened. So I want to read something written by S.A. McCarthy on August 18, 2023, a news writer at the Washington Stand. A new report is exposing major teachers' unions for training teachers to promote woke ideology in the classroom. On Wednesday, the Defense Freedom Institute, good guys, published a follow-up to a report last year tracking and detailing leftist policy items promoted by the National Education Association, the NEA, and the American Federation of Teachers, the AFT. Last year's report, the AFT's and the NEA's Summer of Woke looked at resolutions adopted by the teachers' unions at their summer meetings pertaining to critical race theory, gender ideology, and even abortion activism. This year's report, Summer of Woke, the sequel, examines the NEA and AFT's commitment to enlist, quote, enlist teachers in efforts to indoctrinate students, unquote. What a bunch of crap that is, huh? The report claims that both the NEA and AFT summer conferences featured content designed to instruct teachers on how to indoctrinate students with radical progressive ideology. The report begins by noting that in response to backlash based on last year's report, the NEA decided to conduct its new business items in secret at its annual assembly in July, the report adds. Yeah, that's probably typical. That secretive stuff has got to stop. According to the DFI, one of the NEA's and AFT's top agenda goals is the promotion of gender ideology to children. Thank you.
Travis?
Hello, I'm Travis Friesen. I live in Palmer. I meant to read this when I was at the borough meeting, but I couldn't last time. So this is what I wanted to say. I want to talk about something that is important. Me and my mom went to Washington, D.C. for a spring break one time, and we stayed in a nice hotel. Inside was a Starbucks. It was about closing, so my mom wanted to get something before they closed for the night. Prior to closing, I saw one of the staffs filling a trash can to the brim with perfectly fine pastries and other foods. I was shocked. My jaw almost hit the floor. More troubling, they do this every night before closing. All that good food wasted for no good reason. Now, like most large cities, Washington, D.C. has homeless people, and homeless people, on average, have a hard time finding food. So what sense is there for business to throw out good food when they could give it to local food banks? My proposal is that there should be an ordinance to combat unnecessary food waste. I know it's a different topic than what I normally talk about, but it's similar. All unrecycled waste and wasted food goes to fill up landfills. Landfills, no offense, but there are wastes of good land, and they stink, they attract animals on the fringe, not to mention the environmental hazards they carry, and they also know to produce landfill gas, which is also toxic, by the way. Left unchecked, all these toxic chemicals will decimate the surrounding ecosystem. Look, I know that if certain things can't be recycled or consumed, there is a proper way of disposal. If some foods can't be eaten, you can put it in a compost pile. Things like styrofoam and other plastics can be easily recycled, but at least they are made of oil byproducts and can be converted back to fuel. All I'm saying is that there is a win-win strategy for everything, which also reminds me back on the food. I want there to be a compost pile that all of Palmer can use to dispose of food scraps and not feed it to the landfill. I mean, just the name should say it all. That landfills fill up land and doesn't give anything back in return. So I think there should be that the whole community should know about they should advertise more often, not only the recycling center, but I would like to see a proper way of disposal of organic materials so that it could be turned into compost, and you could turn it into soil and
all sorts of good stuff. Thank you.
Chris?
My name is Chris Tyree, and I'm here to talk about the books. And it's not just books, it's also pornography, because it addicts people to an extent that you guys don't understand and a lot of other people don't understand. But I've had 5 people that I know about. 4 of them became promiscuous sex addicts that wanted to look at pornography all the time. One of them was a child, 2 years old, that was being photographed by her babysitter for adult men to look at. Do you know what they do when they do that with children? They shave the children's bodies so that nothing is poking out shadow-wise on the pictures. Can you imagine a child that grows up being shaved from the time they're a baby or 2 or 3 years old and they become an adult? How much pubic hair a girl can have that comes up that they don't understand about? Or a guy that gets super hairy and doesn't understand why they're super hairy? Because they do that to these children. And I wish people would start looking at stuff like this and realizing it is harming people. Our society is already cancerous. We don't need a more cancerous society. And this is leading to Sodom and Gomorrah, where it's nothing but perverted society that thinks about nothing but sex all the time and forgets about their jobs and forgets about their kids. And if you read Lot, when he was in Sodom, the 3 angels came to visit. He brought them to his home to eat and take care of. And what do the people do in the town? All the men come in there. We want to know these men, meaning they wanted to have sex with them. He threw his daughter out there. They didn't want the girl. And that's what this is an agenda. It's an agenda to maim and make people more homosexual rather than normal. This is all wrong. And children don't need this. I don't want my children seeing this. And I have a problem with the librarian too. She has been bullying my daughter, my granddaughter. I was ignoring my granddaughter on the complaints until recently when it dawned on me. She's a librarian. She's mad because I'm outspoken about the porn books. She's protecting porn books that are horrible and not protecting my granddaughter. My granddaughter has nothing to do with what I am speaking out about. There are several teachers that have made remarks to my grandson about me speaking at the school board. This is wrong. These kids have nothing to do with what I'm doing. Thank you.
I'm not sure, is it James? And it's Jamie Harms? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, if he pops back. Is there anyone that didn't sign up under audience participation that would like to address the assembly?
It's Mary Ravetta, and I'm outside of the Wasilla city limits. I'm here to support Jackie as well. I have a master's in psychology, and I have worked in the sexual brokenness area, and I understand full well about this area. So this book is for 14-year-olds, and it continues on from Linda. Don't cry, Daddy. What's the matter? Didn't I love you good enough? Yes, you loved me enough. You loved me good enough. So very well, so very good. But it's our secret, okay? Because if anyone knew how much you love me, you'd be jealous. Now Kaylee was really confused. Can I tell Mama our secret? No, especially not Mama. She's getting she'd get mad because she doesn't love me like you. She might even go away. You don't want that, do you? She thought it's over. She thought it over. She thought it over again and again, but she finally agreed. I won't tell. Daddy pulled her against him. Good, that's very good. It's okay to have secrets between Daddy and his girl. Just remember, no one likes a tattletale, especially not Daddy. And then page 238, Daddy, and this gets pretty graphic. It says, Daddy had been back to Kaylee, that's her name, for a lollipop licking. And that says my term in brackets a few times. She had a vague notion that it was wrong, but she wasn't true why and didn't know who to ask. They'll probably just be jealous. That warm summer night, she slept in the thin white nightie. Nothing more, nothing at all under the moon full shimmering against the tan and of her exposed skin. Her hair whispered over the pillow like a pale waterfall. As usual, the smell of wild turkey preceded Daddy. In the bright moonlight, you would see Kaylee cringe in shallow sleep. And thank you for your consideration, everyone.
As usual, the smell of wild turkey preceded Daddy. Can you state your name
I
first?
did, yes, Linda Small.
Oh, okay, thank you.
In the bright moonlight, you could see Kaylee cringe in shadow sleep. Daddy crept through the door to the side of the bed, stood looking down for a very long time before stirring. Her with a volley of kisses, cheeks, forehead, lips. Oh, little girl, do you know how beautiful you are? No one was ever as lovely as you, not even your mother when she was a child. I can't believe you're mine. Kaylee roused at his words, came into the moment, secure in the aura of Daddy's love. She tried to sit up, but Daddy pushed her gently back down against the mattress. Stay just like that for Daddy. I want to teach you something new. He lifted her nightgown, rolled it up over her belly, coaxed her thoroughbred legs apart. She squirmed a paltry protest. Don't move, Daddy's scarlet face underlined his command. I thought he might smack her. But as quickly as his anger flared, it dissipated, smoke. Don't be afraid, this won't hurt. You'll like it, I promise. He kissed the length of her torso down to the small, naked V. It was only his mouth that night. He didn't even ask her to touch him, prove him how much she loved him. Afterward, she worried. Didn't he want her to love her anymore? What had she done wrong? And yet, he had taught her something new, something awful, worse, something wonderful, something every girl should know the joy of, though of course she shouldn't learn it from Daddy. Daddy and Hannah, page 297. Daddy and Hannah are lost in each other, and Daddy's body language tell me everything I need to know. These are two separate girls, twins. Right now, his daddy's eyes fall on all the wrong places, and those places belong to Hannah. It doesn't really surprise me that he's hitting on her, I suppose. She's only a few years older than me and looks like she's 12, I guess. She's about 5 feet tall and size 3. She's married. I'm pretty sure to some guy who I've never seen. Soldier, merchant, marine, jailbird, no matter. He's not around much, and hey, lucky her, Daddy's just down the street and always up for some young-looking meat. And just maybe this little detour means Daddy won't be screwing Kaylee, too. at least not for the foreseeable future. Page 319, Daddy knows who he wants to party with, Hannah. Daddy and Hannah. I can't help thinking about them. Truth is, the idea makes me crazy, crazy jealous. Am I jealous? I guess I must be, because right now, all I can see are still shots of Daddy and Hannah doing the dirty. Shot 1, missionary Daddy on top. Shot 2, doggy style Daddy on top. Shot 3, cat.
Mark Sloan. That handout, I don't sell newspapers or anything, but there's one of the book review people has written an article on there, and they wrote on the top what page it's on. So I'd like you to review that. You can make your own decision. You know, you guys run for elected office, and some of you tell us, hey, if you vote for me, I'm going to make some good values. I'm conservative. Might even be the only one running. And I bet you there probably isn't anybody here that really wants to deal with this. But that's part of, when you take the job, you've got to deal with everything. And something needs to be done about this. This is taxpayer money being spent on this, and it's indoctrinating and grooming these kids with taxpayer money. And you say, oh, there's plenty of places they can find this stuff. And you're right, I'm sure there is. But that is not with taxpayer money. We need to stop funding these. And if you can't get over it, close them up. Sell the property at fair market value. It would be far better off than harming our youth. Because once you indoctrinate them in this, you're not going to get it out of their head. One of the review committee people said, oh, they thought it was good counseling for them to read this stuff. So that's what I have to say about that. This is the most horrible thing I've ever seen. And people want to attack people on the committees, want to attack Jackie for trying to do this. It's crazy. Shot 3, can't even say it, let alone well on the picture, but Daddy's on top. Page 55. I wanted to stay in your life, knew you might need me. I was drunk, but not too drunk to take in what was going on. Your mother was gone and your father was washing you. Only the way he was washing you was all wrong. He was touching you in a sexual way, Kaylee. I confronted him, but he just laughed in my face. I'm a respected judge, and you are nothing more than a disgusting drunk. Who would people believe? The only way to get past this is to forgive who I am, confront and forgive. I did not confront Mom. I asked how she could close her eyes, pretend nothing was wrong. She turned it back on me. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you get help? Drain dry of love. She's surviving fine in DC. I had to confront Daddy. I didn't want him to go to prison. I didn't want to testify. Didn't want the world to hear all the dirty details.
Hello. You can move on. Nicole Gilligan, a little bit outside the borough. Regardless of the books, the effects of what the books do, and the fact that children have access to pornography, and all of us have access to pornography at any time of the day, whenever. I just want to read this quick study. It's Vanderbilt University medical study. It's a study that finds that LGBTQ people report higher rates of adverse childhood experiences, meaning sexual violence or any molestation, than straight people, and have worse mental health as adults. So it's not about now, it's about the future, and it's the kids. The kids are going to reap the... Okay, so a new study led by the researchers at Vanderbilt University Medical Center found that 83% of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and queer individuals reported going through adverse childhood experiences such as sexual and emotional abuse and worse mental health as adults when compared to their heterosexual peers. The study, published February 23rd in the Journal of American Medical Association Psychiatry, used data from 2019 from the CDC survey, included more than 60,000 people across 8 states. Of the nearly 3,000 LGBTQ individuals included in the survey, 83% of those adults, LGBTQ adults, experienced at least one ACE, they call it ACE, molestation, so 83% of LGBTQ adults experienced at least one ACE compared to 64% of straight adults. More than half, 52% of LGBTQ adults reported 3 or more ACEs compared to 26% of their straight adult friends. There is a lot of adversity happening to the children. Times are changing, I get that, but the research found that LGBTQ people experienced a greater number of bad mental health days per month, regardless of prevalence of an adverse experience as compared to their straight peers. So saying, if you guys want a strong workforce to show up, it's not going to happen by giving children books in regards to these topics that really aren't meant for them. We need to look into what has happened to these children as children and what has happened to them when they become adults, is what I'm trying to say. Research suggests a multi-layered strategy of training, but in conclusion, I'm just going to have to say that it's not us that are going to be affected, it's the children who are the future of this country, and if we want a strong workforce, and if we want good people showing up to do the work, we need to start being like other countries who are focusing on math and science and other curriculums. So, thank you very much.
Anyone else that would like to address this message?
Madam Mayor, Assembly members, and staff here tonight. I'm Earl Lackey, longtime resident here. I'm very disappointed in what I'm hearing tonight. And we've got people here now that are addressing Assembly without even showing the respect of saying hello to the mayor and the Assembly, and bringing that filth into this organization is not respectable. It's not going to get you anywhere with the borough, I'll guarantee you that. If I was sitting on the Assembly right now, I would throw you out of here, because that is the wrong way to do it. Come in, speak your piece, tell them what you want done. Don't tell them all this filth that's going on. We know that. It's garbage, we don't deal with it. Sorry for the mess up, but just couldn't take it. Thank you much.
Hello, my name is Jean Holt, and evening, everyone. I wasn't going to speak, but what else choice do we have, Earl? I mean, when the borough won't listen to us, and then they have this kangaroo court of librarians or whatever the hell it was. I was here January 18th, and it wasn't right and fair at all. You're wasting so much time, the borough is, on all this. I mean, can't we do better things with our tax money? This is a waste of energy, and it's dividing and everything else. What's the next plan, borough manager? Are you gonna set up a new library committee? And you can't even have public comment? I mean, we've resorted to this. We have to bring this right up into your face. I'm disappointed too, but I'm disappointed in how this government's working and the people that are concerned about how the direction of the children are going. They're just trying to get something taken care of. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Assembly. I'm Kathy Kaiser, and what I've shared with you is the library card registration form that every parent must fill out and sign in order to get a library card for their child anywhere in the MatSu borough. I'd like to focus your attention on the highlighted yellow box at the bottom of the page. This section is highlighted in yellow on every application that a parent signs. At the risk of being redundant, I'm going to read that section aloud. My signature means that 1, I am the parent and/or legal guardian of this child. 2, I am aware there are no age restrictions for use of library materials of any kind. 3, I accept responsibility for my child's selection of materials. 4, I understand that my child's library card should not belong to others. 5, I accept responsibility for materials my child checks out for someone else. 6, I accept financial responsibility for any overdue fines, repairs, or replacement costs for items borrowed under my child's name. I understand that should I fail to fulfill my financial responsibility, this account may be sent to collections and I will be responsible for the full amount owed as well as any collection fees. 7, I will notify the library immediately if my child's library card is lost or stolen, or if there are changes to my child's name or address. 8, I am aware that my child's card expires on his or her 18th birthday, and at that time he or she must register for an adult card. In particular, I want to point out numbers 2 and 3. By signing this contract, a parent acknowledges that there are no age restrictions for use of library materials of any kind, and they agree to accept responsibility for their child's selection of materials. This is not new, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Ultimately, parents are responsible for being parents, and I must say I'm pretty disappointed that there haven't been any parents that come to speak at these meetings. Thank you.
What do you think we are?
Anyone else that would like to address the assembly? You've already spoken, I'm sorry.
I forgot to give you something. Can I bring it up?
Okay. Where did Caleb go to? Oh, he's inside there. Okay. No, nobody online, Caleb? Okay. Okay, one last chance for anyone that hasn't spoken that would like to. Okay. Is Caleb still nobody online? Is there anybody online? No. Okay. So go ahead and close audience participation. The next item. All right. We'll wait for you.
Resolution 24024, resolution waiving the roving vendor use fee for food service trucks and transient merchants from March 1st, 2024 through March 17th, 2024 in support of the Arctic Winter Games, AM 24005, approval of change order number 1 for contract 232B, PB, with professional and technical services for the Smith Road Extension Upgrade and Pathway Project. AM 246, awarded contract number 246C to Peace Manufacturing for accident repair of the 2021 Pierce Enforcer tank pumper apparatus. 247, approval to extend the final completion for contract 23045C with HDL Engineering Consultants for the Lucille Street Upgrade and Pathway Project. AM 2411, award proposal number 2460P to Respect Company in the contract amount of $595,604 for design improvements to the new central landfill entrance. And AM 2412, approval of amendment number 1 to contract 2355P with Heartland Water Technology to extend the completion date for the design leachate reduction systems project.
Deputy Mayor, will you move the consent agenda, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Is there any objection? Okay, hearing none, the consent agenda has been approved. There is no unfinished business. There are no vetoes. We do have some introductions.
Introduction for public hearing on February 20th, ordinance 24027, ordinance 24028, and ordinance 24029.
Okay, Deputy Mayor?
I move to introduce the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public hearing for February 20th, 2024.
Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Hearing none, the legislation has been introduced. Deputy Mayor, will you move the vacancy report, please?
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendation as follows. Board of Organization, Amy DeBoski. Commission of Salaries and Emoluments, Janet Johnson, Dusty Silva. Enhanced 911 Advisory Board, moving from City of Wasilla, revenue from City of Wasilla. Lori Keith, Health and Social Service Board.
All right, sorry about that, folks. I needed to step out of the room there. The people for public testimony that was off topic today is over with. Excuse me, which is the whole reason why I was here today was for that. You heard my testimony. You heard the business that was targeted from them. You got to hear the very last speaker, which was the board member herself. So if you missed it, I'm not going to say her name because I'm not going to put myself out there in that way for liability from the woke mob left. But she wants to justify what they're doing, and she will not apologize for what she did publicly. I've yet to ever see a public apology. In fact, you can go back to the original video and see everything she had to say after the fact, and no accountability for their ethics, their morality. They can care less now that they have read the book. They know what is in the book. The Red Hood was the one that you were getting to hear all of the dialogue coming out of here today. Red Hood is atrocious. It glorifies pedophilia, incest, cutting, binging, you name it. It's in that book, and it's promoted as, oh man, it's just, you heard what they had to say. If you have not watched the other videos that I've done when it comes to these books and the different reviews through the school boards and through the assembly and through the public libraries and just talking at just regular everyday events that I go to, the bottom line is these excerpts are just pieces of the entire dialogue of graphically describing. You would find these in the Penthouse and Hustler magazines type descriptions within these books of the graphic detail of the sex that they are having. And if you think a child is ready for reading that, again, go back and watch that video. You'll see one of the board committee members literally breaking down in tears the emotional trauma they received from reading that book, relived again begin through that book, because they themselves, their victimhood, they identify with what happened because they too had that happen. And they wanted to make sure everybody that was in the room that day knew that. It did get out of hand. You saw one of the board members get up and point fingers at the crowd and a literally dictator style form. This is not what a board member should be doing, let alone targeting a business. The last speaker, the board member that went out and targeted that private business, they made sure that they were the last one to speak today because they didn't want anybody else coming up behind them, challenging them publicly with what she was going to say up there. She wants to take the rules and regulations off. Well, the moment you sign that form, we're completely liable, not liable for what you get handed to your children from us. We know we're handing your child porn. We've now read the book. We know it's not material meant for children of any age, but you signed the form. We're innocent. Before the excuse was, well, we didn't read the book. We didn't know what was in the book. How do we know that we're doing that normally, distributing and breaking the laws that we have within the United States? Alaska is one of 7 states, one of 7 out of all 50, that has the ability to prosecute these librarians for passing this material on to our children. These lawsuits really do need to move forward, especially on this board committee. If they are within our public libraries, they need to be directly confronted and possibility of finding lawsuits placed against them for passing this material on to our children, especially after this review committee has already reviewed the book. The knowledge of what is in them, especially Red Hood, is out there. You got to hear excerpts from it here tonight. There were so many examples. I mean, they can't even do an entire session. They would need 100 and some people lined up giving back-to-back testimony in the 3 minutes just to read all of the material that meets the requirements that says this is porn, this is pedophilia, this is incest, this is glorifying it, this is giving you graphic details of all of it going on, down to the how to properly lick a lollipop, if you get the reference. And that they want these books in our school. They want our children to read these books. And the horrific response of one of them that was just, she was so traumatized by reading the book that, and yet the trauma as an adult she was living through after reading that book. Imagine what a child that may have lived through those same experience reads that. They're not an adult. How are they supposed to process those traumatizing feelings that was exhibited by her during that meeting? This is why parents need to get involved. This is why everybody out there, that board member claiming that we are not parents really is appalling. You guys all know me. You know I got kids. You know I found out how bad the education system was, that I pulled my kids out of regular school and homeschooled them, and they graduated early, 2 years early from school. They entered the 11th grade, and within 30 days after entering the 11th grade, one of my kids had completely graduated. My adopted kid, who we adopted at the beginning of COVID, was behind in school, 9th grade education level from Anchorage School District. We enrolled her also into the homeschool program because the public education system was not doing them any good. They considered her a lost cause, someone that no one who could ever teach or learn. Well, guess what? By March of the following year, she had completely caught up all the way through the 9th, 10th, and was at the current grade of 11th grade. And then by March of the following year, still in the 11th grade, was what she had been passed on through, even though she was at a 9th grade level for education. She had graduated high school, past the 12th grade. So if that tells you anything, that what the system has failed to do, homeschooling was the ability to be able to teach this child without the agenda in play. And that child did phenomenal. That we went from an F student that couldn't even pass a class to a student that got grades that were above average, and this for night and day. And this person, this Kaiser person that testified at the very end, reading the rules that you sign as a parent to allow your child to have books within the library. Well, if these parents actually knew these kind of books, the ones that they were reading excerpts out of, was in the library, do you think they would be knowingly signing that document? I know I wouldn't. I didn't realize that was the right I was signing away. It's just like the thing I keep throwing out there. The moment you enter your kid into the public education system, that is no longer your child. The state owns it. They tell you. They own it. They own your child. You have no rights to your child anymore, which is very obvious by the LGBTQ plus minus whatever you are, the mental illness that has infiltrated into our education system and throughout the United States. This is why many of the countries over in the European nations have banned it. They're no longer allowing this type of care, the self-harm, this kind of mutilation, this abuse to children to continue on. They have seen the damage that it has caused, and I wish Americans would wake up and see the same thing. But the pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, the education system, they're banking big bucks on all of this stuff, making sure that it doesn't disappear, and that's exactly what they want. All right, I'm going to step off on my soapbox. Thank you guys all for tuning in here tonight. I don't know what I'm going to be doing quite next. I'm just trying to survive anymore. This Biden economy means I am working 4 times harder to make the same money I was making before he became president, which has not given me a lot of time to do my real passion, which is what you see me out here doing right now. Being the alternative media that mainstream media will not show up to, will not report, and they'll give their spin on it. Listening to the borough manager, Mike Brown, here tonight, tell us that, in his opinion, the public de-evolved. Well, the reality is, watch that video. It wasn't the public that de-evolved. It was the board members themselves. They had already set the stage long before that public meeting had ever even happened. They openly admit that they don't want to hear from the public. That was not their intent. Mike claiming that we, the public, had input time to be able to put into this. No, we didn't. We didn't have 3 minutes at that meeting. We weren't allowed to speak at all. We were told to sit down, shut up, let them review the book, and they'll decide whether or not it's acceptable. And because of all their perceived lived experiences that's so relatable to what they were reading, this book is definitely quality material, no matter how graphic detail it is in the sexual perverted actions of incest and rape and everything else that went on within the book. Just atrocious. All right, again, I said I'm off my soapbox. If you're watching this on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, maybe even on our own website, if you have not clicked that button to like us, subscribe to us, and the bell to make sure you get notified every time we go live, do that right now. Take a moment. It takes just a second to make sure. You can also find this on Rumble. I can't believe I'm forgetting Rumble today, where my head's just not here. It's just still wrapped around what that last speaker had to say. It shows you the mental level of the illness that is out there, and that are on these review committees, that this is how they come in and defend themselves, their actions. Their targeting of private businesses, they don't, no apology from her whatsoever in front of the board there. Would have been a perfect opportunity to clean the slate, but nope, she didn't take the opportunity. She just used it as another way of saying us non-parents that are complaining we don't have kids. Again, everybody that's in that room, pretty much, we all have kids. Most of them are grown adults. Thank God they're no longer in this education system. Mine grew up through good portion of the wokeness that was out there, and I can see what their teachings have instilled into her brain. But fortunately, she has a dad that has a very strong moral and ethical background, and I try to help brace her and keep her on an even keel, even though the woke indoctrination is very, very powerful within the system out there. If you haven't been to our website before, please go Politadick.com, click our support button. Your proceeds, your donations help us do what we do here so that we can keep broadcasting out to all of the different social media channels at the same time. So that way, no matter which one you prefer to be on, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, or even our own website when we're live, you can have that choice, and it's your donations that make that possible. We keep upgrading our equipment. You saw the donation of the beautiful American palette flag that I talked about during my testimony today. And these are the type of things that it just keeps improving what we're doing. I started out with the bottom of the line cell phone videoing out there. to where now I have microphones that can pick up things across the room, as long as I remember to plug them in, which seemed to have happened at the very beginning of this meeting. It wasn't all the way in the jack, so you were only hearing the portable microphone, the one that's supposed to be a clip onto your shirt and talk to people. Once I got the boom mic put in, which was, we just missed a little bit of borough business was all that was really hard to hear, and then it got loud and clear and you could hear everybody's testimony. Thank you guys all for being here. Again, like, share this video. We really do appreciate it. We'll see you guys all the next time.